So again, I'll ask you for your decision on closed or open note test after we get done here. And then whatever you tell me today after this review, you're going to have to live with. Okay, starting over there with Jordy, I want you to tell me who is the man who faced Andrew Jackson in his first duel with both men firing their dueling pistols harmlessly into the air. Who is the man who faced Andrew Jackson in his first duel with both men firing their dueling pistols harmlessly into the air? Wait still Avery. That is correct. Zoe? Who was the U.S. Army commander who led the charge against the Red Stick Indian fortification in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend? He actually later went on to become the savior of Texas, so to speak. Army commander who led the charge against the Red Stick Indian fortification in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend. He was seriously wounded but survived. Sam Houston. Very good. Sam Houston. Luke Lamb. Who is the American lawyer whom Andrew Jackson studied under for 3 years? Who is the American lawyer whom Andrew Jackson studied under for 3 years?
Spruce McKay.
Spruce McKay is correct. Spruce McKay. Bailey, my dear, who is the man who faced Andrew Jackson in a duel that resulted in Jackson being wounded and his opponent being killed? Who is the man who faced Andrew Jackson in a duel that resulted in Jackson being wounded and his opponent being killed? Charles Dickinson. Very good. Daniel, what was the name of the infant Indian son of Andrew and Rachel Jackson? Who is the infant Indian son of Andrew and Rachel Jackson?
Lincoln.
Lincoln. Very good. Izzy, what was the warrior name for Red Stick War Chief who was only 1/8 Creek Indian? What was the warrior name for Red Stick War Chief who was only 1/8 Creek Indian? Red Eagle is correct. And Riley, who was the U.S. Army commander who led 1,500 Indians against the Red Stick Indians at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend? Who was the U.S. Army commander who led 1,500 Indians against the Red Stick Indians at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend? He was the guy that took them behind and attacked from the rear across the river, distracted them so that Jackson's men could attack the fortification head on. Are you awake yet? What do you usually drink to get awake? Nothing? Anybody? Go ahead. Coffee. You don't know either. It's bad for you. I don't either. Isn't that weird? What's the guy's name? John Coffey. I'm glad I have to use a Dear John scenario on you. Poor Austin Sherman may die. Okay, here we go. Okay, so what we have here is 7 matching. And the rest are short answers. Okay? So here we go. Those are 7 matching. Patty? What was the young Andrew Jackson's comment? What was his quote to the British officer that stated to him, "Clean my boots"? What was his answer to that comment? What was the young Andrew Jackson's comment or quote to the British officer that stated to him, "Clean my boots"? Pretty close, and that'll be close enough. I am a prisoner of war and demand to be treated accordingly. Okay? I am a prisoner of war and demand to be treated accordingly. Mr. Wolf, I want you to name one tragedy in the life of Elizabeth Jackson. Please, one tragedy in the life of Elizabeth Jackson. That would be Andrew Jackson's mother. Name one tragedy in the life of Elizabeth Jackson.
She lost her husband to a logging mill accident.
Very good. Mackenzie McConaughey, give me another one.
Lost her son during the Revolution in New York.
lost a son who was killed in the Revolutionary War. And there's actually another one, Caleb. What was our last tragedy? And Andrew Jackson was a part of it, so to speak.
Her other son died. Wasn't it 6 months?
Her youngest son, Robert, died marching back from a British prison camp. Yep. You'll need to know two tragedies in the life of Elizabeth Jackson. Aisha, my dear, give me one type of, quote, activity that young Andrew Jackson took part in during the time he was raised by relatives after his mother's death.
Gambling on horse racing?
Very good, gambling on horse races. Regan, give me another one.
He used tobacco.
Okay, he chewed tobacco. Kate, how about another activity he got himself involved in? I don't think he was necessarily a drunk, was he? What type of activity? Somebody said what? You said he gambled on horse races? You said that he chewed tobacco? What else did he gamble on horse races, he chewed tobacco, and what else did he do? Bet money on dice games. Gambled on dice games. You're going to need to know one type of activity that young Andrew Jackson took part in during the time he was raised by his relatives after his mother's death. Mr. Mortimer, what was so controversial about the relationship between Andrew Jackson and Rachel Donaldson Robards? Yeah, she was married. She was already married, or she had a husband already. I guess it'd be okay. But she was a married woman. That was what was so controversial about their relationship. Andy, why was the first marriage of Andrew and Rachel controversial?
Because they weren't married by a Catholic priest.
Which meant the marriage was technically not legal or illegal. Very good. Yep. Controversy about Rachel Andrews' first marriage is they were not married by a Catholic priest because they were in Spanish-owned, since they were in should mention that, because they were in Spanish-owned territory, only a Catholic priest could marry them. Catholic priests could not marry them, so therefore marriage was really not legal. Okay, very good. Kaylin, my dear, why did Andrew Jackson leave Congress after 1 year in the House of Representatives and 1 year in the Senate? He didn't have something. What did he have? Why did Andrew Jackson leave Congress after serving 1 year in the House of Representatives and 1 year in the Senate? Didn't have what? Danny, go ahead. You always do. I know you know. Yeah, girl, she's finally, it's almost the end of the first semester, she's come out of her shell. He did not have a legislative personality. So again, why did Andrew Jackson leave Congress after serving 1 year in the House of Representatives and 1 year in the Senate? Because he did not have a legislative personality. All right. Carter, when Andrew Jackson was serving as circuit judge in Tennessee, he confronted a man who refused to surrender to the local sheriff. What convinced the man to surrender himself to Jackson? I'm looking for a quote. I looked at Jackson and he had shoot in his eyes. That's a quote. I looked at Jackson and he had shoot in his eyes. When Andrew Jackson was serving as circuit judge in Tennessee, he confronted a man who refused to surrender to the local sheriff. What convinced the man to surrender himself to Jackson? Quote, Jackson had shoot in it, or when I looked at Jackson, he had shoot in his eyes. All right, making progress here. Adriana said back there, man, he hasn't called on me yet. But here you go, girl. What was William Weatherford's, oh, I don't know, I already asked that. What was his warrior name? Fred Eagle. So we already asked that, so I'll have to scratch that. You'll get that twice. That's already printed the test. You're going to get it twice. So that'll be an easy one for you. Okay, Adriana, I'm not going to let you get away with that. What was the name of the river that ran through the Battle of Horseshoe Bend? I would have this spelled correctly on your test. What was the name of the river that ran through the Battle of Horseshoe Bend?
The Tallapoosa.
Tallapoosa River, yeah, Tallapoosa River. Make sure you know how many O's. Tallapoosa River. Tatum, my dear, I want you to give me the numbers killed on both sides during the Battle of Horseshoe Bend. I want you to give me the numbers killed on both sides during the Battle of Horseshoe Bend. In other words, how many were killed at Jackson's Men and how many Red Stick Indians were killed? Numbers killed on both sides during the Battle of Horseshoe Bend.
806 dead,
Yep,
and Jackson lost 6 men.
that's right. 800, approximately 800 Red Sticks killed. Jackson lost 6 men killed. That's amazing. That still is amazing to me that you could do that. Okay, Jordy, back to you here. What was William Weatherford's offering of peace when he walked into the camp of Andrew Jackson after the Battle of Horseshoe Bend? Slain buck. Slain buck. Well, there's lots of male animals can be bucks. Deer. Slain buck deer. Thank you. Slain buck deer. Caleb, my man, what did the United States government gain as a result of the Treaty of Fort Jackson? What did the United States government gain as a result of the Treaty of Fort Jackson? What did the U.S. government get out of that deal?
The U.S. got 23 million acres of land.
23 acres of Indian land. 23 million acres of Indian land. Not 23, right? 23 million acres of Indian land. Regan, what other Indian tribe did Andrew Jackson defeat claiming present-day Florida for the United States? Seminole Indians, that's right. What other Indian tribe did Andrew Jackson defeat claiming present-day Florida for the United States? The Seminole Indians. Caleb, after Jackson's Seminole War, what kept him from retirement once he returned back to his plantation in Tennessee? Why didn't he just retire? He was 55 years old and terrible health. Why didn't he retire? You're getting there. Don't go for 2. Go for 0 for 2 on me here, because Warner's not bailing you out on this. Okay, we got time. Time is our ally. Where? You're right, but where? He thought politics were very corrupt. Where? In our nation's capital of? Where's our nation's capital? Washington, D.C. So he didn't retire because he believed politics were corrupt in our nation's capital of Washington, D.C. So what did he do? He ended up running for the presidency. All right, Caitlin. In the election of 1824, I want you to tell me how many electoral votes Henry Clay had. How many electoral votes did Henry Clay have?
37.
How many?
37.
37. All right, Wagner. How many did William Crawford have? Electoral votes. Henry Clay had 37.
Crawford?
Yeah.
41.
41. Daniel, how many did Adams have? How many did Adams have?
Caught me off guard there.
I did. I was looking right at you. You should have known it was coming.
I didn't see it.
In second, the Battle of Bighorns, kick butt. You think you don't have to do anything in class the next day?
I was thinking about the match.
The match?
Yeah, I should have won.
Well,
Should've been
coulda,
wrestling.
shoulda, woulda.
Uh,
If fans and butts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. What's that?
What guy was it again?
Adams.
Adams.
Electoral votes.
84.
84. Right? That right? Bailey, how many Jackson had?
99.
99. How many? Who had 131? No one is right. No one. Okay. Kate, here we go. What did Andrew Jackson call the deal that was made between Henry Clay and John Quincy Adams after the controversial election of 1824? The deal being, just so you know, that John Quincy Adams named Henry Clay his Secretary of State after Henry Clay supported him in the House of Representatives when no one got the 2/3 majority of electoral votes. What do you call it? Corrupt bargain, absolutely. Okay, I'll have to ask somebody that would be comfortable answering this.
Does that mean being close on the test?
Corrupt bargain, if it's in the, is it on the ID sheet? Okay, Regan, I want you to give me one example of how the Republicans ran a dirty personal campaign against Andrew Jackson.
They called his wife an adulteress.
I'll give you that. You don't even have to say the W word if you don't want to. They called her an adulteress, right? How about the mother? What did they call her?
Prostitute.
Prostitute. So you know an example. Are you able to put down an example? Two examples. No, one example of how the Republicans ran a dirty personal campaign. You don't have to use the bad word if you don't want, as long as you say adulteress, okay? All right, Luke Lamb, tell me why Andrew Jackson considered not going to Washington, D.C. to be inaugurated as the nation's 7th President of the United States.
His wife had just died.
And maybe he didn't like her. He'd go right there, okay? Okay, why didn't he go?
Was stricken with grief.
He was stricken with grief over his wife's death
Oh, and blamed.
and blamed his Republicans or his political opponents for her death. Basically said they murdered her. So, he almost... Why did Andrew Jackson consider not going to Washington, D.C. to be inaugurated as the nation's 7th President of the United States? Because he was so grief-stricken over the death of his wife. And he also blamed his political opponents or the Republicans for her death, basically stating that they murdered her with their horrible comments that stressed her out. Tatum, explain the support President-elect Andrew Jackson received at his inauguration on March 4th, 1829. What kind of support did he get? I'm actually looking for some numbers. See if anybody picked this up. Give me the example of the support he received at his inauguration. In other words, how many people were there?
10,000.
Okay, and what did the video say? Nobody was listening? Maybe I'll put that on the test.
You said since it was gonna be close, nothing from the videos would be on the test.
That is true.
Well, I can change my mind. You know why? Because look at this. Where is that? Where did I put that? Look at this. I have the certification that says I can do whatever I want. Look at that. I had to really work for that. Nobody heard on the video? I thought somebody said, Mr. Durr, I thought you said 10,000. When the video said how many? 15,000. Video said, so I'll take anywhere between, I shouldn't because you didn't even know it, but I'll take anywhere between 10 and 15,000, okay, on that one. And again, the question is, explain the support President-elect Andrew Jackson received on his inauguration on March 4th, 1829. Okay, Izzy, here's the next question. Give me one example of how things got a bit out of control at the reception at the White House following Jackson's inauguration.
When people were packed into the White House, they had bad behavior, there was many muddy boots that climbed up the chairs.
Okay, there's one. Men with muddy boots climbed on the chairs and tables. Aisha, give me another example.
Bicycle.
Fights occurred both inside the White House and on the grounds. Mackenzie, how about another example of how things got out of control? Trays of food were knocked over, making a great big mess. And one more there, Riley. Furniture was broken. So you're going to need to know a couple of examples of how things got out of control at the reception. Okay, and finally, Daniel, according to the wealthy people in the United States, what term had replaced law and order during this reception?
King Mom.
King Mom. There you go. There is your test. Okay, I'm going to show you a little video here. This video I'm going to show you now on Andrew Jackson will not be on your test. It'll give you a little bit of what we've already talked about, but I want to set up what we're going to talk about. So this is a little bit more about his presidency.